If you are anything like me, you are on the hunt for a stress-free vacation. You are looking for a stress-free cruise. Well, hey, what's up everybody? This is Tony with Lido Loca, and in today's video, I'm going to give you 6 things that you can manage to make sure that cruise vacation is stress-free. Thanks so much for stopping by the channel. Thanks for taking time out of your day to watch some cruising content. And if you enjoy the cruising content, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of our uploads. So 6 things you need to manage for stress-free cruising. Number 1, you need to manage your time. And this happens all throughout the cruising process. You need to manage the time that you need to pay off your cruise. You need to manage your time so that you can accurately plan your cruise. You need to manage the time that it takes to get to the cruise port. And then when you're on the cruise ship, you need to manage the time that you have there. Vacations are fun. They're not to be overbearing. But one of the things that are going to stress you out is if you haven't made a plan when it comes to your time. I've waited too long to pay off my cruise. Now I'm stressed out. I got final payment date coming up on me. I waited too long to book my airline. Now I'm paying a higher price. I waited too long to make travel arrangements, and now I'm stressed out. These are not the ways that you want to start off your cruise vacation. I woke up late the day I was supposed to go to the cruise port, and now I'm stressed out trying to get on the cruise ship. Managing time is a complex but yet simple thing. You just need to make a plan. When you're on the cruise ship, you don't want to come away from your cruising experience saying, wow, I missed out on a lot of things. I didn't manage my time. So when you're on the cruise ship, take a little time to make a plan how to manage your time. Don't be late for dinner. Don't be late for the show. Don't be late getting back onto the cruise ship. And make sure that you think about the things that you want to do and make kind of a loose schedule so that you can have your best cruise vacation. There's nothing more stressful than running late. There's nothing more upsetting than thinking that maybe you missed out on something that was going to be awesome. If you take some time to manage your time, it's going to reduce your stress level in the cruising process on your cruise vacation. Now, I probably should have made this number 1, but I didn't want to get in trouble. You got to manage your relationships. Unless you're a solo cruiser, you're probably going to go on a cruise ship with somebody else. And that's another person that has wants, desires, needs, things that they want to do, habits, things that could drive you crazy, things that you absolutely love. You got to manage that relationship. You got to put a little thought into what the other person is into on their vacation. You can't just be about yourself. That's going to lead to disaster. And if you're cruising with somebody other than your significant other, what if you're cruising with family, or what if you're cruising with your kids, or what if you're cruising with friends? All those things come into consideration. You got to go in with your mind wide open, realizing that everybody is there with the same goal in mind, to be on vacation, to have a good time, and to do the things that they want to do. And so it could get super stressful if you are not mindful of what the other people that you're cruising with want to do, or if you can't read the signs when they're upset. It could be super stressful. One thing you don't want to do is freak out, have an argument on your vacation. This can sour your whole vacation. I'm working on it. I've done that in the past. I've ruined a whole vacation by being sour, saying the wrong things, not being mindful, not managing my relationships. And so learn from me. Don't ruin your vacation by not managing your relationships. Just realize most of the time you're not in this alone. Sometimes I envy the solo cruiser because you can just think about yourself. I did it one time. That was one of the advantages of being a solo cruiser. You really only had to think about yourself. But most of the time you need to manage relationships while you're on a cruise, and realize that, you can affect somebody else's mood. You can affect the time that they're having on the cruise. And if everybody makes a commitment to manage relationships, you should have a less stressful, a more stress-free cruising experience. Number 3, manage your money. This is another one of those that encompasses the whole cruising process. It costs money to go cruising. It costs money before the cruise. It costs money during the cruise, and sometimes it costs money after the cruise. You have to be mindful of your budget. You have to be mindful of your money in this cruise life if you want to do it stress-free. The great thing about cruising is they will allow you to pay over time. You can book a cruise a couple years out, and you can slowly pay that cruise off. But it takes some discipline, it takes some management to do that. And then when you're on the cruise ship, when you're going on your cruise vacation, you got to make sure that you allot some money for each day of your cruise. So that's something you might want to save up for, so you're not stressed out the week of your cruise trying to put some money together so that you can have a good time. One of my favorite aspects of cruising is that once you pay, for the most part, you don't have to spend any extra money if you don't want to, and can still have a good time. So they help you out with the money management aspect in that scenario. But if you know that you're going to go on the cruise ship and you're going to buy a few things, if you're going to buy some souvenirs, if you're going to buy some drinks, then you got to make sure that you got your money lined up. You got to make sure that you got a credit card or a debit card or enough cash in hand to pay your bill. And nothing more stressful than getting to the final day of the cruise and needing more money, being stressed out about how you're going to pay off your cruise bill, how you're going to get off the cruise ship. I don't think it happens frequently, but there are procedures in place because people get to the end of their cruise and they're not able to pay off their cruise. And so it's super stressful as you're being detained by the cruise ship to try to get your bill paid, or those kind of things. And then also while you're on the cruise, you've got to manage your money. You got to look at your bill from time to time to make sure there's no erroneous charges. And you also have to be mindful of your spending and be mindful of the other costs that might be coming your way on the cruise. You have to be aware of the charges that are going to be put on your cruise ship bill so that you're not surprised at the end. So money is one of those things you have to manage. If you do it well, it's going to reduce the stress that you have while you're cruising. If you don't do it well, that could be one of those things that makes your cruising super stressful. You don't want to be on a beach somewhere thinking about, do you have enough money at the end of the cruise? Got to try to manage it on the front end. Stress-free cruising. I think number 4 would be best summed up by this lyric: you have to check yourself before you wreck yourself. We're talking about attitude. You have to manage your attitude when you're on the cruise ship. Oftentimes, think about this. Get in your head with me. Well, I'm not trying to get in your head, but most of the time, the way you feel about life on a day-to-day basis stems from the way that you approach it. And we're talking about attitude. You can approach things with a positive spin. You can approach things and find a negative spin. And whichever direction you go will probably change the mood, change the vibe that surrounds you. You carry that vibe with you based on your inner feelings, on the way that you look at things. And so you got to manage your attitude when you're on a cruise ship. How are you going to react to negative situations? If your roof falls in and it fills your cabin with water, are you going to let that ruin your cruise? Are you going to be able to react to that in a way that is positive, in a way that's constructive, in a way that you can get help for that? Or are you going to react in a way that's going to cause turmoil and negativity and really run the risk of ruining your cruise? How are you going to react when somebody cuts you off or cuts in front of you or steps on your toe or, is rude to you? It could happen. You're in a cruise ship with thousands of people, and not everybody is going to be a saint. And the only thing you really can control is how you react to those things. So managing your attitude is a big part of that cruise life. If you can figure out a way to manage your attitude in a way where you can make yourself feel good, it's going to reduce your stress level on a cruise. Number 5 is another self-care type thing. You got to manage your indulgences. You got to manage your vices. If you're somebody that likes to gamble, you can't gamble away all your money. You got to manage that because you got to pay that bill at the end of the cruise. If you're somebody that likes to eat a lot, you can't eat so much that you make yourself sick. It's a huge temptation when you're a first-time cruiser. Food everywhere. You can eat so much on the first day of a cruise that you could be sick for the rest of the cruise. You got to manage your drinking. You got to manage your smoking. Any of these indulgences that you jump into, the great thing about the cruise ship is it encourages all of it. There's a lot of opportunity to indulge in all your indulgences. And so you've got to manage that so you don't do self-harm. And sometimes that can carry over to others. Many of these stories that we hear about people going overboard, there's a component of overindulgence and possibly in alcohol. So you got to do yourself a favor, take care of yourself, but just think of that. If you're cruising with somebody and something tragic like that happens because of an overindulgence, their life is affected too. So one thing that you can manage to reduce the stress level on your cruise is your indulgences. And number 6 is one that we could really roll all the other ones up into. This really is the umbrella thing to manage. You have to manage your expectations. Manage your expectations about money and relationships and time and attitude and indulgences. You have to manage those expectations. And probably the biggest expectation that you have to manage is what's going to happen on your cruise vacation. Cruising is one of the few vacation types that change is constant, and things could happen at a moment's notice that affect your vacation. If it's weather, if it's a natural disaster, if it's a mechanical failure, if it's a sickness, if it's passengers fighting each other, there's so many things that can disrupt your cruising vacation that if you go into it thinking everything will be exactly as you planned and it doesn't work out that way, you are going to be super stressed. You really have to adopt a go with the flow kind of attitude and go in eyes wide open. If you are concerned that your itinerary might change, if you're not going to get to go to that port that you absolutely want to go to, or if you are concerned that your cruise could be lengthened or shortened by some sort of weather event, or if you are concerned about how well you can interact with the other people that are on the cruise ship, cruising may not be the way to go, because in all of those situations, there is volatility, there is the possibility of change. And if you do not manage your expectations toward all of that, you're going to make yourself miserable. Expectations is probably the big one on the list. I saved it for last. It really encompasses the other. If you're going to live that cruise life, you have to live a cruise life where you can manage your expectations. Okay, so confession time. I made this list. I'm looking at this list and I started to do some self-evaluation. I know that I fall short probably in all of these on some level, but I said, okay, T, what is the one that you are the worst in, that you have to work on the most? I'm a lot better at it since I've been cruising now than I was in the past, but relationships can really be a challenge, especially if you're somebody that's on vacation and you're wanting to do the thing that you want to do. Relationships is one of those things. The worst thing that I feel like I could do is ruin somebody else's good time. That's the one I'm taking away to work on the most. The question for you, which of these 6 things to manage do you struggle with the most? What's something that you want to work on? And do you have any tips or techniques or any questions? Can we help you work on these things? I would love to share some of that information with you. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you found it helpful, please hit the like button. It helps us out so much. And we'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. And we'd love for you to come join us over at the coolest cruising community on Facebook, the Lido Loca cruising community. A lot of great people over there. A lot of people talking about cruising. Come make a new friend. Join us on Facebook. Thank you again so much for stopping by. This is Tony with Lido Loca. And until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.